Hey, Pipe fans, welcome back to Carl Prusa MMA. Today, I am with Cage Warriors champion. He is Mr. Houdini, Mr. Harry Hardwick. Harry, how are we doing tonight over in the UK? Everything doing well on your end?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Sort of went out, mooched around the seaside for a bit earlier today, and I've had big meal and some sticky toffee pudding. So life is good. Cannot complain.
There you go, man. So you're coming off of a big win. You're able to defend your title. Took on Keweny Lopes. Big first or fourth round finish. Good TKO stoppage. Still feeling that momentum from that great win?
Yeah, it feels good at the minute. Like I'll randomly sort of burst into dance. I'm much more prone to, you know, like singing along to shit loudly. Like it's just a general goodness that's going on. I know it's because of hard work. I can't take my foot off the gas. I'm sort of deep into the doing the hard out of camp work at the minute, making sure I've got a good base and a good foundation for the next time I enter fight camp. But it was good. And like I think where normally I like to discredit myself or I'll almost make excuses against my own achievements, I, kind of which I think arguably has been a strength to this point. The fact that my boy Leon Arms got a first round knockout on the same card, like every time I start to even slightly downplay myself. I'm like, oh yeah, but we shared a card together for the first time. We got a knockout, and we both got knockouts. Oh, so amazing! So then, yeah, hence the random dancing and singing.
So you're able to pick up a nice victory. You were able to put him out there fourth round. Walk me through that finish.
Yeah. So obviously, we knew it was a dangerous test. We took him really seriously. Like, obviously, he's from Nova União. That's a fucking one of the best gyms that the sport's ever seen. Really, I would say it's arguably the best gym that Brazil's ever had, which is saying something. He was on an 11 fight winning streak. I think 8 of those guys he'd knocked out badly. We knew he was coming in and he was going to hit hard, and that you know 11 fight winning streaks don't happen by accident. That knockout rate doesn't happen by accident. We were not being dismissive of any of his skills or any of this. Like I'd showed his fights to some people who were sort of like weren't as part of the camp. Like, oh yeah, he's just a big power hitter, blah blah blah. You'll do this. I'm like, no, like there's definitely some craft to it. There is a reason this stuff lands. First round, kept it, kept on him, kept my foot on the gas, kept as in his face as I could get away with because I wanted him to be throwing, I wanted him to be stressed out, I wanted him to be lashing out. Obviously, he was stressed out and he lashed out, and the punches and kicks were ungodly hard. Like they were some of some of the hardest impacts I've ever taken to my legs and forearm and stuff like that. It was ridiculous. And then the few punches that got through at the head, I was like, oh God, this is something else. But I stuck to the game plan. I tied him up when I needed to. I got him tired. I knocked him down in the second round, got on top, and then it was just the the snowball was rolling in my favor, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. More stuff started landing, and then I came this close to finishing him at the end of the third round. And then the fourth round, I start finding my way through. I kind of hit him with an elbow, hurt him with a left hook. And as I'm kind of doing my tappy setup shots where I've got no power on him, the ref stepped in, which makes sense because like I nearly finished it at the end of the last round and I just hurt him and stuff. But it made the finish look kind of weird. I had loads of people going, "How's bro winning the fight with minus damage?" Because it was just this weird sequence where I was like, I was starting to pour it on, but I was just doing my tippy tappy setup shots, and then the ref stepped in. I was like, ah. At the time, I felt, oh, this is fucking great. But then watching the video, I was like, it looks kind of stupid, but it is what it is. It's a big one. I'll take it. I'm happy about it. So yeah,
Now in your career, 30 years old, 12-3 fighter, has an amazing record. Are you really start looking for maybe the next level? Is the Dana White Contender Series some of the bigger shows? Is something that's crossed through your mind?
yeah. So I'm laser focused on getting to the UFC. Middlesbrough and the Teesside area has never had a UFC fighter. If it's going to have one, or if the first one, it's got to be me and George. Like, it's got to be one of us two at this point. Um, Obviously, George had the disappointment with the Contender Series a few years back, and then broke his jaw in training not long after that. And like him being probably the only person in the world, or one of the few people in the world, who could break their jaw and then come back from a jaw break better, like objectively better in almost every way. And that's not like just him coming back to the fight and doing fight camp. That was him coming back when he started doing rounds again. Like he just kept his focus that well and worked on what he could work on, and worked so hard while his jaw was injured. So yeah, there's that. I think both of us probably, because Contender Series doesn't start until August, probably going to look to defend our belts again. Um, we're both in the really competitive stacked weight classes where it's pretty hard to get into the UFC with anything other than Contender Series or like short notice, which I'm comfortable with. There's so many people competing for the spots now. There's so many good fighters in these weight classes that like I understand why the UFC can be a bit choosier with it. But I think the stars are lining up for both of us to rack up another title defense each, and then both of us to get in the UFC at the same time, which obviously would be mega. T-side Middlesbrough never had a UFC fighter, and to get two at once would be pretty nice.
You've been making yourself a name for yourself in Cage Warriors. Obviously a promotion with some great alumni. I mean, you think about all the good fighters that come through there, the Paddy Pimblets, the world, Conor McGregor's, Tom Aspinalls. I mean, the list goes on and on. What's it
Warriors are
be?
what people forget.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
What is it like to be able to represent that organization?
Oh, it's sick. I really like the organization. Obviously, I've been in Cage Warriors for a while, so like when you're somewhere for a while, you kind of learn. Like you sort of become friends with more of the staff members, more of like the people who are running it, the people who are making the show. Like keeping the show running, making the show work. And yeah, I really like Cage Warriors. I like the way it operates. I love being at Cage Warriors shows. I like they. I never really took. I kind of took for granted how good they are until I went to a boxing show and there was just like pure waffle, just people talking on a microphone in front of a camera that no one in the arena can hear for like half an hour between every fight, and then the audience coming in watching the mate fight and leaving. So like the arena was never full at any point during the night. Whereas Cage Warrior shows, it's like the Newcastle one was full from start to finish. Everyone was just cheering the local fighters. It wasn't necessarily their mate. They were just supporting people, and the atmosphere is good, and the fights just bash out from like one fight ends pretty much, the next fight starts. That fight ends pretty much, the next fight starts, and it's just I love Cage Warriors. I love being part of the organization. Um, yeah, so it is good to represent it, and it's good to well, Cage Warriors posted a graphic the other day where it was like Northeast based Cage Warriors champions, and there was five of them at the time. There's six now with Kennedy Freeman, but there was our coach Abdul Mohammed, then there was Alex Enland, then there was my brother George Hardwick, then there was Saj Hack, then there was me. Like we got three of them at one gym, so it's pretty cool.
What is it like to be able to do on this journey? You mentioned him a couple of times, your brother Josh. What's it like to be able to, fight on cards with him, train with him, and hopefully break into the UFC with him?
So yeah, in fairness, me and George do not like fighting on the same card. Well, it's not like we don't like fighting on the same card with each other, but it's just when with 5 round fights, those extra 2 rounds do make training a bit more of an organizational nightmare. They make the whole night and the whole shebang a bit more of a nightmare to organize. So like, and it would mean we'd be like one fight after the other if we were to fight on the same night now in Cage Warriors, both being champions. But 3 round fights, like we get Contender Series offer, we won it on the same night. Um, first couple of UFC fights, we did it when we got to Cage Warriors, but it's great and it's not great at the same time. Like it is more work, it's more to organize, it's more stuff to do. But as far as just having him around, he's the most important human being in my existence. We spend a worrying amount of time together because we're obviously we're in the same training camps, we're in the same training rooms, we still live in the same house. So it's like it's a bit much sometimes. We sort of behave more like twins around each other. You know how like sometimes brothers can be, they can be around each other and just not shut up and kind of constantly insulting each other and bickering and all this stuff. We are very quiet around each other most of the time because we're around each other that much, which I guess is worrying, but it's kind of good because we get to punch each other and kick each other. So like, I guess that might be why we never actually argue.
Do you get more nervous before his fights than you do your own fights?
Not anymore. Like, because both of us do a lot of coaching anyway at the gym. Like, it's sort of we're training full time and then helping run the gym full time, and coaching the fight team full time. So it's like I have a job to do then, as much as initially, or like, in the past where I'd get nervous because it feels out of control. Like when I'm fighting myself, I'm in more control of what's going on. Whereas when your brother's fighting, it's, like you can feel a little bit helpless, but it's just dialing in as a coach and realizing like I have a job to do. My job is this. This is what I need to be focused on. Anything outside of me doing my job properly is a hindrance and potentially problematic for the most important person in my life, trying to achieve something. And it's it's for any of my students, for any of the people who I corner, it's like I will try my absolute best to be entirely focused on the task at hand to the extent where nerves can't even creep in, like due to how much I'm putting into what I'm doing.
When you see in the UFC, some of the bigger shows, there's a lot of guys from the UK who've done very well for themselves. So obviously, the Michael Bispings of the world, you got the Paddies, you got the Leon Edwards. What has the MMA scene been like in the UK? In the past 8 or 10 years, has it evolved? Has it always been this big and active?
It is. There's always been a fairly like there's been like an underlying interest. There's always been like a lot of people, but it has both evolved and exploded in popularity, in my eyes. Like a while ago, there was fucking nobody who wrestled properly, whereas now, like Leon Edwards has took down Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, and that's almost entirely from training in the UK. It's like as much as having those big wrestling competitions and all that is important. The most important thing for making stuff work in a fight is attentive, focused practice. And Leon Edwards is someone who's done lots of attentive, focused practice, and he's made up for the the lack of a wrestling base or this and that in the UK. And I think where the opportunities to compete in the UFC because of visas and stuff are a little bit, there's not as many of them here for the UK fighters. I don't know if that's just made people hungrier. Like the people have well, if it's not as easy for me to get in the UFC just outright, well then I need to make up for that by, I don't know, focusing more on this in practice, focusing more on that in practice. And then just generally I think the UK scene is very competitive. Like a lot of good, especially like amateur level UK MMA is ridiculous at the minute. Like you get a lot of good amateur fighters that would give pros a run for their money fighting against other good amateur fighters who'd give pros a run for their money. And I think it does just, if the grassroots level is like that, it will bring everything up.
I think so many people in this day and age watch the sport, and I think they look at the big names. They look at the Leons, the McGregors, they look at the Paddies, and they're like, wow, being a fighter must be the greatest thing ever. Little do they know, man, when you're battling it out on the regional scene, you're not making millions of dollars fighting quite yet. A lot of guys have those 9 to 5 jobs, kids, wives. They're losing money doing this. You have to pay to train. You have to deal with a bunch of killers who want it just as bad as you, day in, day out. You've been doing this for quite a long time. You've had some great success. What has made you keep punching and kicking through all the sacrifices?
Um, it's a weird question, or like, or a tough one to answer because, like, I'm I was always a really timid kid and very timid as a teenager, and like fighting, especially early, was just so alien and uncomfortable to me, and I couldn't understand why it was so different to just, because I like training, and it was just so different to the training in the gym and this and that. But there is just something inherently and unfathomably special about fighting and about being in the fight. And like, as I've gone through my career, as the years and years have progressed, I've started to be able to appreciate it so much more. Like, it's hard to describe to someone who's not fought, because it's not enjoy, like, the actual being in the fight itself. This is going to sound like a bit of an oxymoron. It's not enjoyable, but it is fun. Like, as an experience, there's lots of pressure. There's this, there's that. Every just the baseline level of tired when you're in a fight is disgusting and it's horrible. It's painful. The graft you have to put in the gym to be able to, even just to be able to function at a very basic level when you're in a fight, is 2 seconds. I'm just doing an interview. But yeah, just the the amount of training, the effort you have to put in just to sort of have like a baseline function in fighting is mad. Like, it takes years to get to the point where under pressure and under stress and under duress and in a fight, you can hold your stance properly and throw a jab. It takes a mind blowing amount of time. But there is just something that like. Fighting is this moment that you just can't capture. It's even like hard to remember, but there is just something so special about being in there and being in the flow of it, and allowing your instincts to, or like that trust of your instincts to take over, and you just the stuff starts happening, and the everything's so high consequence, but it's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love fighting, but I cannot for the fucking life of me say why. It is such a stupid, tough thing to do with my life. The reward, at least financially, you know, but it it's just, I'm so fulfilled. I'm so happy. If anyone asks me like what you meant, what you like, I'm happy as Larry, and my satisfaction with my life is huge, and I'm mega grateful. But I can't exactly tell you why, because fighting objectively as an experience sucks. It's awful. It's painful. It's tiring, but there is something about it. I can't put my finger on it. I can't describe it, but it is the best thing in the world by a country mile.
For you, what's the ultimate goal in your MMA career?
Chin a few more cunts, get to the UFC, and then keep chinning progressively tougher and tougher people until I either win a belt or someone puts me to sleep.
You think 2025, is that going to be the big year? Is that going to be the breakout year for you?
It's going to be the breakout year for me, for George, for MMA and Middlesbrough on the whole. Like, for the longest time, me and George were the only pro fighters in our town. Now at Middlesbrough Fight Academy, we've got 5 pros actually. Going to have 6 soon. The gym, if you including amateur and professional, is currently on a 17 fight winning streak in MMA, which, and the UK regional scene's tough. No one fought cans. Everyone had to overcome adversity, but we're on a big streak. So yeah, we've got a bunch of killers yet to even make their debuts. 2025, not only for me, not only for George, but for Middlesbrough Fight Academy and for all of our amazing training partners and students is going to be a massive, massive year. And it's going to be busy, but it's a good headache to have.
Do you and your brother take a lot of pride in knowing, you're kind of paving the way for fighters in the UK and help growing and developing the sport out there?
I mean, it's we take pride. Well, we take pride in our students, and in just the training environment on the whole. Like obviously, Abdul didn't have anywhere near as much as we did. So Abdul was a cage rage champ back in the day. He used to travel sometimes to train at Wolf Lair with Bisbing and Rampage and stuff like that. But when he was home in Middlesbrough, they didn't have an MMA gym. They would go into like a fitness studio in a commercial gym, put 4 mats down and spar, and then there was like maybe like 3 or 4 people who gave a fuck about the sport at all. So like Abdul, I'm so grateful that he has given us the environment. We put everything we can into it, and it seems to be creating this loop where it's feeding into itself. Now we've got loads of like hungry, passionate fights. Just the training environment itself is this. I wouldn't say there's no egos, because if you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't want to win. Like that's just simple as that. But it's just such a productive environment where like we've got a bunch of quite funny people, but like people who are coming, we don't have a laugh, but like coming in to work hard, and there's just this progress coming, this progress sort of happening. Everyone's getting better. The level is just going up and up and up, and I genuinely, like, hand on heart, believe we have something really special going on, and I think in the next few years people are going to see it.
All right, last question for you, Harry. We're almost done with 2024, but going to 2025. What's next? What are the goals?
More than likely, I'm going to have to defend my Cage Warriors belt. More than likely, I'm going to knock out whoever it is who they put in front of me. Once that's out the way, and once George gets another title defense, most likely it's going to be a contender series thing where we both fight on the same show, do some big impressive performances in front of Uncle Dana, and get a contract. However, the sport is unpredictable. You can't make plans. Injuries happen. This happens. Short notice opportunities happen. So, what I've just said is kind of the aim. But if there's any short notice opportunity, I'll be ready. If there's any injuries, fuck, I'll just have to work hard and figure out what I can do while they happen. That's the beauty about the sport, or just life in general. You can't plan for shit. You can say all you want. All you got to do is just work hard, and then if you work hard every day, when an opportunity comes, you'll be ready.
Awesome. Well, Harry, man, thank you so much for taking the time of your night to talk to me, man. I wish you and your brother nothing but the best, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. That's it for us tonight. I'm Carl Prusa. That's Cage Warriors champion, Mr. Harry Hardwick. Take care, fight fans.
Bosh.